Welcome back to the City Current Radio Show. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're honored to be with our next guest from the Junior League of Memphis. We're talking about Traci Strickland, and she is the event chair with the Write Your Own Story Conference, and we'll talk all about that. But let's start. Traci, how are you doing?
Good morning. I'm just so excited to be here, Jeremy. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So we love Junior League of Memphis, amazing work that you all do in the community. Let's start there, and then we'll talk about the conference. But give us some background on Junior League of Memphis.
Well, you know, what's nice is that it's 2021. Thank heavens we're in a new year, right? So, next year, 2022, the Junior League of Memphis is going to be celebrating 100 years as an organization in the city of Memphis. And to be able to celebrate a centennial, I think whether it's a nonprofit or a business, to be able to hit that kind of milestone is fairly remarkable in times like these. So we're so proud of that accomplishment. We have such a rich history of service and volunteerism throughout the city of Memphis, whether it is creating Hope House in the 80s, being able to found some tremendous things all across, whether it's Le Bonheur or the Memphis Zoo, just so many different things that we're so proud of as an organization. But a lot of the internal community programs are more recent. So in the past 11 or 12 years, we had a group of members that saw a need in the Binghamton area at the Lester Community Center. So literally for 11 years now, we have a team of women that every Thursday night during the school year, from August to May, they go, they bring dinner, they serve all the people that come, all the families. They provide 4 different kinds of programming on a weekly basis, and it is just a phenomenal partnership. We have Kids in the Kitchen that we think about healthy eating choices. We work with Memphis Athletic Ministries. The list goes on, but we're so proud of the work that we've done historically. And then, of course, this past year in the pandemic, that our mission never stops. And so it's wonderful to see our members not just pause, but realize that, the need is even more. And so we have been really so grateful to our partners that have allowed us to do food drives, diaper drives, just different things that, we can't get into buildings sometimes, but we can do outdoor projects, or we'll do make and take projects at Carpenter Art Garden, for example. So, every year our members give at least 10,000 service hours to the city of Memphis. And our mission is threefold, Jeremy. So, it's obviously improving our communities, but it's promoting volunteerism. Without that philanthropic spirit and being able to mobilize women to serve in the community, we've just seen such a dramatic improvement in our community because of our volunteers. And then something that's so near and dear to my heart and speaks to our event that we're having in February is the focus on developing the leadership potential in women. Our women come in as a new member. The only requirement is that they're 23 years old, but there's no cap on the end. I'm kind of raised my hand. I was kind of one of the ones that was a little older when they joined, and we have an incredibly diverse membership of women in their backgrounds, where they've come from. And, it's an amazing group of women that when we get together, I was just telling some friends, like, I have this whole circle of friends that I would have never met if I hadn't joined this organization. And it can be, we come in for one reason, whether we really want to help transform a community, and then we develop relationships that have transformed our lives and improved us so that we can be better, more positive change agents in Memphis.
Talk about the way it's structured, because as you mentioned, the only requirement is the age on that side, but you have different levels. And to your point, it's really geared around service and becoming a catalyst, but it's also training and developing the leadership and the potential on that side. And then it's also too the camaraderie, the collaboration, the relationship building. So there's so many different levels to what you're doing, but talk about the structure of how Junior League is structured.
Okay. Well, when you come in your very first year, we call it your provisional year. And so you don't have to know anybody. We're actually in a recruitment process right now. So if you're interested in joining and you're over 23 and a woman, go to jlmemphis.org and there's a join button. They'll give you lots of information. But your very first year, and I love talking about this, I was the provisional chair about 5 years ago. And so we really like to think of it as a buffet. There's so many different initiatives that we do, whether it's different community programming, fundraising programs, internal operational type things that, depending on what the women's gifts and talents are, what she wants to grow in or develop in, that very first year allows her to fully understand our mission, fully, grasp who we are as an organization, and then get to serve in lots of different areas. She will have 2 what we call mini placements. So in the fall, she will be able to choose from a group of different either fundraising or community programs that, she'll get to really kind of delve in and learn more about that. And then in the spring, she'll have a second one. And one of those fundraising might be our repeat boutique thrift shop that we've had on summer for so many years. It's been so successful in serving the Binghamton and Berkeley areas. And so, they will have those opportunities to really get to know members, to really get a taste of what we're all about. And then from there, they graduate from that provisional year and become what we call an active member. And then you get an opportunity to either serve as a leadership role, or you can be on a committee and then, have a leader that will oversee that, where you get to learn the nuts and bolts on really how we make those programs work, or those fundraising initiatives work. And every year you get to choose something different. So somebody they may start in community and want to stay there, and they move on up to chair that position in a couple of years, or they say, you know what, this was great, but I think I want to do something different. And I love to meet some of the newer members and ask them some questions. Why did you join? What are you really trying to get out of your experience? And so we don't have a formal mentor program to that extent, but we really do want to uplift our members. So when I think of our leadership training, we have those every job, right, has like a checklist of things you've got to do this year to complete your job. But it's so much more than that. I mean, it is truly about making sure that woman or this group of women has an incredible member experience, because yes, you're here to do a job, but it's this membership experience that can be so fulfilling. But of course, it's what you put in is what you're going to get out. And so I always say, I really love to pour into other women and figure out what makes them tick, what makes them, smile and shine and get excited. And that's what I want to be able to help lead her to get involved in. And then someday, may become more of a senior leader in the organization. And so after, several years of service, you do have an opportunity to take a step back and become what we call a sustainer member. So you don't have lots of check boxes and things you've got to do every year, but you still believe in the mission. You still want to support the organization, but on perhaps a smaller level. Although there's leadership positions on the sustainer side too, and what we've seen. And I would say that if you look around the city of Memphis and you think about some of the top senior women in certain positions, most likely they are a member or a former member of the Junior League of Memphis. So we're so proud of that.
How has being a part of Junior League of Memphis changed you personally?
I got to speak about that on Monday. Monday was a pretty big announcement. I joined 8 years ago, and I came in because I had a very dear friend who I worked with, who was one of those first few members that started this Grow Binghamton program at Leicester Community Center. And she would come in every day at work and get me all fired up and excited about these great things that they're doing. And I went into her office one day and I said, oh my God, I know I'm already in my early 40s and giving it away, but I'm like, I know I'm too old to join. And she just screamed and said, you have to do it. And so I thought I was going to do it because I really wanted to serve the community. And then literally a few months later, my job shifted, and I'm now at Triumph Bank, where I have the honor and pleasure to literally drive all of our community programming and voluntarism initiatives here. So personally, I was getting that cup filled on through work. So I really got to pivot and do a lot more internal member development opportunities, serving on the board, and, you know, forming our long range plan. And of course, now chairing this event we're going to talk about soon. But Monday, I was announced as the future president-elect. And so I'll become president in June of 2022, starting our next 100 years. And it's just an honor to get to serve this organization and the women that are just incredible people. But I would say for me, it's been the transformative relationships and the fact I can see how I have developed as a woman and as a leader. And I was thinking about how I would have responded to something 5 or 10 years ago, and you know, end up being a control freak. I would just go and fix it, but I'm like, no, you know, let's work through this a different way, and the opportunity to uplift other people. It's just what I've been called to do, and I feel it in my heart, and I'm just it is, and I've seen it with other members. I mean, to be able to meet women that I would have never met if it weren't for this organization, it's just been a complete blessing to me.
Love it. Let's go ahead and talk about the conference, what you really wanted to come on and talk about, but it's the Right to Roam Conference. February 25th is the date, but tell us about this conference.
Well, we have had, Jeremy, this really awesome in-person conference called Memphis Women's Summit that we started 6 years ago. It has literally gained momentum for the past 6 years. We've always had it at the University Center at the University of Memphis. Last February, right before everything happened with COVID, we had over 400 women at the University of Memphis with this incredible keynote speaker and a whole day of wonderful programming focused on developing the leadership potential in women. And then, of course, I become the chair of the event in June. I'm like, oh, I don't think we can have an in-person event. So we worked with the board, and they said, let's change. You know, this mission is so important. We've got to continue to bring this programming. So, of course, it's now become a virtual women's conference, and these relationships are so important. And it's, you know, it's more challenging when it's on a virtual platform versus I'm a hugger. So I would like to, you know, be next to my friends and the women that are coming and make sure they're having a wonderful time. But I think we have really created some programming that will be worthwhile, be definitely worth women's times for coming. I think of it, you know, at the beginning of a year, we all kind of joke about having New Year's resolutions, but after surviving 2020, I think we're all thinking about how we want to, you know, do things that are different and really take control of our lives. So many things are out of our control and on a number of levels, as we know. And so we wanted to leave the Memphis Women's Summit name. That's an important name for our in-person event. So we were thinking about how could we name this event and really be able to bring some impact. So we've called it Write Your Own Story. And I really believe all of us, you know, have that time where we, you know, flip the calendar to a new year and we think about what have we been lacking, and what can we do better for ourselves? And when we pour into ourselves, it ends up pouring out to all of us around. So if we're having a horrible day, you know, I mean, it reverberates. So, you know, I think that self-care, that journey to emotional wellness, it's just, I could feel many times last year where literally all you heard was bad news, that sometimes you just had to like take a minute because it was almost too overwhelming to think about, you know, how can we move on to the next day? So how can we really focus on the power of our emotional wellness and take care of ourselves? So we've got LaShonda Massey, a clinical psychologist. She's a Junior League of Memphis member. She's going to be focusing on that as part of is just one of our 3 speakers. In my background, I've been in kind of the wealth management, financial services industry for so long, and I've been on this like platform and like focus on making sure women feel financially independent, be able to stand on our own 2 feet financially. It's just incredibly important. So I've been able to call on a former colleague of mine who lives in Orlando, Florida. She'll be joining us on the Eastern time zone. And she's written a book. She's the New York Times bestselling author. She's written The Money Queen's Guide to Building Wealth for Women. So her whole address is to talk about those 10 things that women have to know about money. So we want to give away real tangible takeaways so that after you spent a few minutes with Carrie Carbonaro, certified financial planner, you're going to know, okay, I'm going to do these 2 things next to improve my financial life. But then kicking off the event is a local Memphis female superstar, Lori Spicer Robertson. She's so well known throughout the community. And, you know, we've been saying like these 3 women have been very successfully writing their own story. And Lori is the perfect example of that when, you know, in the middle of the pandemic, she gets the, you know, promotion of her life to become the new vice president of diversity, equity, and inclusion for Saks Fifth Avenue. She's going to be joining us with a really important message about overcoming bias in the workplace. There's just a lot of struggles, whether it be racial or just, you know, on the base of gender. And, you know, we just want to make sure that we can empower and inspire and elevate women at a time where we feel like there's so much need. So it's a 2-hour virtual women's conference on February 25th. We have a website, Jeremy, that is jlmwriteyourownstory.org. Tickets are only $30. You know, typically for our in-person event, it's much more, but we wanted to make it as reasonable as possible. We know that, you know, people are struggling financially. We do not want to make that a hardship. And if it is a hardship, please let us know. We want to make sure that you can attend. But from 3 to 5 is going to be the conference. If you buy a ticket, it will be recorded and you'll get that recording later. You'll get an attendee bag full of lots of wonderful things that you'll be able to use at the conference and after to enjoy. And then from 5 to 6, we're going to have kind of an optional, we call a virtual happy hour, so that, you know, you will have these breakout sessions to really continue the conversation. You'll hear from these women and be inspired, but then during that last hour, to stay and really talk with other attendees and, you know, talk about those aha moments and, you know, those great takeaways and what we can all put into practice in our lives.
We'll wrap up one more time with the website for Junior League of Memphis and obviously also for the Write Your Own Story Conference.
Awesome, Jeremy. So if you're interested in just more information about the Junior League of Memphis, or if you're interested in learning about joining, it's jlmemphis.org. For our Write Your Own Story event on February 25th, it's jlmwriteyourownstory.org, and you can click the link to register and buy your tickets there.
Well, Traci, greatly appreciate all and your amazing team do for our community. Thank you for coming on the show.
It's a pleasure, Jeremy. Thank you so much for having us.